right, our third student for the day is Etseoghena Obi, and she's a master's student in animal science at the University of Alberta under the supervision of Professor Martin Zudoff. Her current project ties many of her research interests, including precision feeding systems and intergenerational studies in poultry production. Her current research is on broiler performance in response to maternal growth, and that's what she's going to talk with us about today. And when she isn't out watching chickens, she loves watching anime in her free time. So let's say hello to Etseoghena.
Hello, everyone. I'll be presenting my research titled Broiler Performance in Response to Timing of Maternal Growth. Okay, so in the current broiler production system, broiler breeders are feed restricted while their offspring, that is the broilers, are fed ad libitum. Before I continue, my research is an extension of Tiago's research. So he worked with broiler breeders while I worked with the offspring. And while we feed restrict broiler breeders, over the years, we realized that the feed restriction, that is placing broiler breeders on a diet because we want them to lay properly and we want them to lay timely, the feed restriction has gotten so severe. Like the diagram there, we would see that in 1957, the broiler breeders that were feed restricted gained similar body weight with the ones that were fed ad libitum, that is in 20 weeks of age. And 60 years later, when we feed restrict broiler breeders, we only achieve about 25% of the body weight of their growth potential. That is when we feed them ad libitum. And increasing or decreasing the feed intake of our broiler breeders affects the offspring, that is the broiler performance. And well, that is the end goal of raising broiler breeders in the first place. So, and in a bid to find different feeding strategies to relax the welfare issues that pertains to restricting broiler breeders and their body composition and their egg production, we realized that breeder growth affects the broiler performance. It could either be directly through their egg composition. When breeders are have higher body weight target, that is when we increase their body weight target above recommendations by the breeding company. We see that we have more yolks in eggs, and then we have higher body weight broilers with higher body weight. We have broilers with low feed conversion ratio, that is, they are more feed efficient, and we even have broilers with higher breast yield. And so it is not enough to say, let's find better feeding strategies for our broiler breeders. We need to go beyond the broiler breeders and see the effects of this broiler growth on our broiler, on the offspring performance. So this brings us to the objective of my study, which is to investigate the effect of timing of maternal growth on broiler performance. So this is, like I said earlier, this is an extension of our broiler breeder research. So my hypothesis stated that when we achieve the maximum growth at puberty or the maximum inflection time, when we achieved it earlier, and then when we have an increased early body weight gain of our breeders, we would have broilers with increased final body weight and breast yield, and we'll have broilers with lower feed conversion ratio. So my experimental design included the 12 growth treatment, the maternal growth treatment of Tiago, and then I had offspring trials that were conducted at the 32 weeks, 42 weeks, and 52 weeks of maternal age. And then male and female broilers were raised until 6 weeks of age. So just to reemphasize the broiler breeder growth treatment, I'll go over it once again. So before I go into the treatment, I just want to say that the growth phases of broiler breeder, when we raise broiler breeders, they have 3 growth phases. We have the early phase, that is the pre-pubertal phase. We have the pubertal phase and the post-pubertal phase. Now, for our treatment, like Tiago's treatment, we manipulated the body weight at the early phase and then the maximum growth at puberty, the age of maximum growth at puberty, or we can call it the inflection time at puberty. So this is a graphical representation of my of the growth treatments that were applied to our rosteroid broiler breeders. So we had the rosteroid target. This is the target based on recommendations by the breeding company. Then we have the 15-week inflection, the 15-week of maximum pubertal growth. We have the 17, the 19, then we have the 21, which is the standard or the recommendations by primary breeders. Then we have the delayed one, which is the 22, and that of the 23. So these are the inflection time, or the age of maximum growth at puberty at the standard early gain, that is the body weight gain at the early stage based on recommendations by primary breeders. Then we have the yellow lines, which is based on 20% shift in gain. So we took 20% body weight gain from the pubertal phase to the prepubertal phase, that is the early phase. So the birds on the yellow curves gained more weight at the early phase. So that is what we did. So making 12 growth treatments. Now going to the offspring trial. So we collected eggs from these broiler breeders at 3 different ages, the 32, 42, and 52 weeks of age. We incubated the eggs and we pedigree hatched them. We pedigree hatched them so that we'll be able to link each chick to their maternal growth treatment. Now, I would want to say again that the growth treatments were only applied to the broiler breeders. All I did in my offspring trial was to collect the eggs from these breeders and just raise them. So we didn't do anything to the chicks. So the chicks were weighed and tagged, and then they were raised with a precision feeding system. The precision feeding system was used because we wanted to be able to get the exact or the precise feed intake of our birds and then the feed conversion ratio of the birds. And they were raised to 6 weeks of age, and dissection was done at 6 weeks, that is 42 days. So we collected data on the final body weight, the feed intake, the feed conversion ratio, and the breast yield, and then it was analyzed. Now, the result of our broiler body weight shows that at 21 weeks of inflection time, that is inflection point, that is the maximum growth at puberty, that is the standard for the breeding company. We would see that increasing the early gain by 20% was able to increase our broiler body weight by almost more than 200 grams, I think 220 grams. So when we increase the broiler breeder body weight at the early phase, we would increase our offspring body weight as well. And then the cumulative feed intake shows that there was an increase in feed intake of the broilers when the breeders, when there was an increase in the early gain of the breeders. So there was an increase in the 21-week inflection point. We would see that there was an increase. The red arrow facing upward shows that there's an increase in the feed intake of the offspring, that is the broilers, of about. So in the 21-week pubertal inflection point, that is the maximum growth at puberty, there was about 380 gram increase in feed intake. So we could say that the increase in feed intake gave us the increase in the body weight that we saw earlier. So there was an increase in body weight due to the increase in this feed intake. Then the cumulative feed conversion ratio showed that when we achieve an earlier maximum growth at puberty for our broiler breeders, we had lower feed conversion ratio. That is, the broilers were more feed efficient than when we delay the maximum growth at puberty. So at 19 weeks, that is 2 weeks earlier for maximum growth at puberty, and at 21 weeks, which is the standard for the according to recommendations by primary breeders, we got lower feed conversion ratio, that is, our birds were more feed efficient. Then the broiler breast weight shows that with the standard early gain of these broiler breeders, their offspring got a higher breast weight when the broiler breeders reach maximum growth at puberty earlier at 19 weeks. So the ones at 19 weeks reach the broilers from the breeders of 19 weeks in pubertal inflection point reach had a higher breast weight than the ones from 21 weeks maternal pubertal inflection point. Now, because we collected eggs at 3 different maternal ages, we decided to look at the effect of this on our broiler performance. And we found out that broilers from 52-week-old hens were heavier than broilers from 32-week-old hens. So as our broiler breeders were growing older, our broilers from them, the offspring from there, were growing bigger. So the result of broiler feed intake shows that broilers from 42-week-old hens had a higher feed intake than broilers from 32 and 42-week-old hens, while the cumulative feed conversion ratio results show that broilers from 52-week-old hens were more feed efficient, that is, they have lower feed conversion ratio than broilers from the younger hens. So that means our broilers from older hens they were bigger, they had higher body weight, they had low feed intake, and they had low feed conversion ratio. That means they were more feed efficient. So the take-home message from my presentation shows that when we achieve pubertal growth earlier than the recommendations, we have birds that are more feed efficient. And then when we increase the maternal early gain, the body weight gain of the broiler breeders early, when we increase that, we have broilers that are bigger. And then when we collect eggs and we collect broilers from older hens, we have broilers that have higher body weight, lower feed intake, and lower feed conversion ratio. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you, SA, for those presentations. We've got some questions that are coming in fast and furious. I like the fact that it was the older hens that had great value because they had lower feed conversion rates. I don't know. There's a message there for us, I hope. Okay, from our questions then, is early body weight gain better or worse than later body weight gain if end weight results are the same?
Okay. I think the early body weight gain is better when we consider the welfare issues, because it is at this early stage that broilers are very strictly feed restricted. So we help broiler breeders. So we help to curb the issue of hunger. At least they are not as hungry as when they don't have as much body weight.
All right. And then do you see effect on the egg weight and chick quality at all?
Oh, there was no effect on the egg weight when we analyzed our data. The egg weight was the same. However, when we hatch the eggs, the hatch weight of birds from the earlier maximum growth at puberty, that means they gained more growth before puberty. So we found out that they had higher hatch weight, their chicks had higher hatch weight, and that was the only chick quality that was analyzed, the hatch weight. Yes.